Hi, welcome back to West Coast Geeks. I'm your host, Joaquin. How we doing, people? Today's video is Dungeons and Dragons. Oops, I can't see the small writing. Shadow of the Dragon Queen Review and History of Ages, Part 1, War Comes to Krynn. You know who's with me.
Hey, what's up, guys? It's Eric.
Eric, indeed. And a note to myself, for those of you who've been, paying attention to all my little uh, mistakes, this probably makes 100 for the year. So, if it's
Nice
not,
round number.
yeah, if it's not spelling, it's me not making this big enough so I could read it through the OBS. I was all staring at it. I'm like, what the hell?
I know. I was looking at it first. I was like, I had to focus. I'm like, what the hell
I
is
was
these
like, this
little
is
baby?
little
Like I'm
slow.
carding somebody.
I'm like, damn. So this is gonna be part one. War comes to Krynn, and Eric and I, mostly Eric, is going to be doing the reading and then adding in any little tidbits that he can to each paragraph or chapter. Because unlike Eric, I really didn't get into Dragonlance. Not because I didn't think it was cool. It's just that at that point in my life, I was barely buying D&D, let alone I really wasn't even playing. Like I'm in my 20s and or late teens, and at that point I had given up on playing D&D, but I still enjoyed buying some of the products. That's why I barely have anything that's 2.0 because by then I was done. So
Joaquin was out clubbing.
yeah, I was out clubbing.
Well, no, I mean, actually, Dragonlance came out in '84.
Really? Did it?
Yeah.
Wow,
Yes.
let's
Yeah.
see.
Dragonlance was mid to late '80s.
Wow, I guess that story doesn't hold up.
When
Eh,
you said 20 years, I'm like, wait a minute, dude. How the fuck old are you?
I was like thinking, that's okay. Puts me at 84. I was born in 72, so I was 12. I'm a junior.
Liar.
I'm in junior high.
Right?
I'm still playing D&D on and off, but I think what happened was I just didn't get into it for whatever reason because,
Well, and
um,
you guys did a lot of homebrew stuff. You guys made up your own stuff.
well, no, actually I didn't. I bought a lot of modules, but I was more into
Really?
Ravenloft and
Okay. Well, that was
Spelljammers.
Tracy Hickman as well.
Yeah, and
Yeah.
Spelljammers, and then the other thing we were
Okay.
into is like Dark Sun.
Okay.
And
Yeah. See, all that stuff was after Dragonlance.
yeah, so for whatever reason, I bought a few modules and I never bought, and I think that's what the kicker was. I never bought the main box for whatever reason.
Well,
Didn't
there
get.
really wasn't a main box later on. And I want to say maybe right before second edition came out, they came out with a Dragonlance source books, but everything was all the DL modules, DL1, DL2,
Yeah,
the big Larry Elmore, Keith Parkinson, Jeff Easley, Kai Caldwell covers, the big four art D&D artists at the time. Like it was such a huge push for TSR because really outside of Greyhawk, and to be honest, I don't know if Forgotten Realms had really started taking off yet. So this was the first thing really after Greyhawk that was completely fleshed out. You had authors, you had Margaret Weiss and Tracy Hickman writing the books, you had the modules being done,
yeah,
you had miniatures being done. There was just all kinds of stuff, artwork and a massive amount of consumer material, really.
yeah. I do remember
It
looking at
was
some of the
really
artwork. I was like really just blown
artwork's
away.
amazing.
I was like, damn, this
Yeah.
is really cool. I try to copy certain things. I'm like, this is what I should
Mhm.
be inspired to be doing. But yeah, for whatever reason, I just now I don't have really
Yeah.
an excuse because I'm still into girls. It's like,
Right? I think my thing, I was reading the books, and when I read the books, that was what started it for me. Then
yeah,
I
I
got
never got
interested in the
into reading the
modules and shit like
books.
that.
Like I'm just listening to the audio right now.
Oh, dude,
So,
I have dozens of them, dude.
all right, so
There's probably 100 paperbacks.
we're gonna, we've done enough of skipping down
Yeah.
memory lane. People are like, okay,
Yeah,
I came
get
here
down to
for a
business,
review, not review of your old geek life.
right?
All right, okay.
And
So,
look, Charge of Lord Soth,
yep,
speaking to
War
Keith
comes to
Parkinson.
Krynn. We got the Krynn series, D&D, the history of Krynn. So, go ahead, Eric. Take us away with War Comes to Krynn, the first paragraph you're going to find in the
All
book.
right. The world has ended, and it's ending again. 300 years ago, the cataclysm brought ruin to the world of Krynn. In a single day, an age of wonders came to an end. Countless innocents died, The face of the world was reshaped, and the gods themselves faded into legend. Through ages of struggle, the peoples of Krynn survived, but the world isn't what it was. Those nations that remain linger in the shadows of their ancestors' wonders. Only slowly have they begun to push back centuries of darkness and rediscover how the world has changed. Then came the dragon armies, legions of soldiers devoted to the wicked god Takisis, the dragon queen, and the world faces ruin once more. The War of the Lance has begun, and in a conflict between gods and dragons, a wounded world hangs in the balance.
Okay, so at this point, we are not going to be reading the part that's using this book, and we're going to be saving the scroll on the left for another video. So let's move on. So now we're going to be talking about what did I get that
Oh,
out of
Dragons of
line?
Spring Dawning.
Yeah.
That's one of my all-time favorite artworks right there. Tannis,
So
Gold Moon, and Stern Brightblade.
yep. Hold on. Did I get that out of order? No, go back. Hold on.
What is
This is
going
the.
on here? What is happening?
All right, sorry about that. So, Eric actually should have, or Eric, I should have thrown you under the bus.
I know
I
what's up with
should
that,
have
man.
stayed right here as he reads the history of Krynn after the intro because the next one is before the catechism. So go ahead and read the history of Krynn.
All right. While every world's history is vast and fractured, with missing pieces and forgotten perspectives, Crynn's tale has been shattered by the global catastrophe called the Cataclysm. The world of Krynn was forged and destroyed, yet, broken and scarred, it continued on. Most of its people, seeking merely to survive in their slowly healing lands, care little for eons past. But the sages who piece together fragments of the past focus on three periods: before the cataclysm itself, and the dire age since.
Okay, so at this point, um, Eric's gonna add in little nuggets of possible future videos that we're gonna be talking about Dragonlance because this is really to help out those people who have always heard about Dragonlance but haven't bought any of the other supplements. So Eric's going to fill in some of the gaps that this book leads out, but it's going to be brief because we're going to be moving through.
Hint, hint, nudge, nudge.
Yeah, we're going to keep it. Yeah, we're going to keep it. We're only going to go through up to page 7, the dragon armies, and we're going to cut it off there because there's so much information that Eric can talk about. But right now,
Yeah,
he's
I
just
get
gonna
on the
he's just
roll.
gonna drop little nuggets about the history of Krynn that are going to be future um, videos. So in no particular order, take us away, Eric.
All right. Grimm's earliest centuries have passed in the mytho-history. The story begins in the age of Starbirth, when the gods forged the world from primordial chaos. This period's records are mere legends and scriptures, and few credit their detail as fact. Next came the Age of Dreams, a time when heroes battled the forces of evil. Many modern cultures and institutions saw their origins in this era, including the Knights of Solamnia, the Mages of High Sorcery, and the Dwarven Kingdom of Thorbarden. Ironically, these cultures often dismiss one another's foundational stories as baseless myths while fiercely insisting on the veracity of their own. That mostly has to do with the dwarves disagreeing that they and Kender came from gnomes. But that's, like Joaquin said, a whole other story.
Yep.
During a terrible conflict known as the Third Dragon War, the knight Huma Dragonbane was granted the first of the fabled Dragonlances. He used it to defeat the evil god Takisis, the Dragon Queen, and end the war, forcing the god and her dragons to leave Krynn. The good dragons of Krynn soon departed as well, leaving the world to the mortals and the remaining gods. So that's how they what's it? That's how they seeked balance in the world. With the evil dragons gone, the good dragons would say, okay, we're not going to upset the balance. We're going to leave as well. Huma was given the Dragonlance he had fallen in love with a silver dragon that was disguised as an elf named Silvara. She's the
Yep.
one that presented him with the first Dragonlance.
Oh,
So
cool.
they use that to banish a dragon queen back to the abyss. And the good dragons left as well, leaving the gods and humans to rule over Ansalon. During the 1,000 years before the cataclysm, known as the Age of Might, several human nations flourished, conquering vast swaths of the continent of Ansalon in the name of good. The triumph of the Age of Might sowed the seeds of its downfall.
Okay, so real quick, what is the Age of Might? No, is that
Age
something
of
they just?
Might is when basically what we would consider today like the industrial revolution, really
Oh,
like the like they say goods spreading across the land. You had all these kingdoms establishing their boundaries and stuff like that. It was basically the rise of civilization, but to make it sound kind of cool, they said, "Oh, it's the Age of Might."
that does sound
You
cool.
have, like I said, knights and mages and all that stuff.
Then,
So, yeah. Over the centuries, the city of Istar in eastern Ansalon grew into a continent spanning empire, thanks in part to a military alliance with the Knights of Salamia. Istar came to be ruled by a series of king priests who declared Istar the center of the world and themselves the holy messengers of the gods of good. This is not going to end well.
uh-oh.
Under their leadership, Istar declared war on actions, peoples, and even thoughts. The king priests considered evil. Sound like 1984 much?
Yep.
Increasingly rigid and theocratic, Istar reached its apex of power just before its apocalyptic fall. The last king priest undertook even more audacious magical feats, culminating in a ritual to attain godhood and rule Krynn forever in the name of good. At last, the gods acted, united in their condemnation of Istar.
So what could you add? Anything you want to add to that?
So yeah, the king priests were just like they were just theocratic zealots, and they thought it was basically their way or the highway, and they're just basically a religious theocratic government that just got out of control. And they were so widely powerful because of the Knights of Solamnia to the east it allied with, and that's how they became so strong militarily. And they were just basically enforcing their will on the people of Ansalon, whether they liked it or not. And had you disagreed with them, then you were obviously evil and put to the sword. Um, a really good, like, if you want to look, and I'm going to talk about some of the books for a second here.
Yeah, go ahead. That way the
Obviously,
people
you
can
would
look it
start
up.
off with the Chronicles. The Chronicles are the amazing entry point into the world of Dragonlance and the War of the Lance. It starts with the Fellowship. And I will say this: as much as I love Lord of the Rings, it is very much in the style of. Oh, I'm sorry. As much as I love Dragonlance, it is very much in the style of Lord of the Rings, where you have a group of companions going to fight a greater evil, and there's a war raging around. It's very much like that, but it's really cool. I mean, it the Chronicles are where you want to start. There's the picture here. This is Dragons of Spring Dawning by Larry Elmore. You have three of the main six, which is Tanis, Goldmoon, and Stern Brightblade. He's the Knight of Solamnia. Then you have Dragons of Winter Night, and after that, you have Dragons of Spring Dawning. That chronicles the entire War of the Lance from the western and the southern perspectives.
Okay,
Not much.
so sorry to interrupt there, but I started with this is what I'm listening to on audio. Book one, Dragons of Autumn Twilight. Should I be starting there, or should I be looking for
Oh,
something else?
no, no, I'm sorry. I can't believe yeah, I thought I said Autumn Twilight. Yeah, Autumn Twilight is the first one. Winter Night is the second. Spring Dawning is the third.
Okay, okay, cool, cool, cool. I was like,
Yeah,
am
yeah.
I
So
out of
that
order on
that's what
something?
that's what this picture is. That's the cover of the book.
Yeah.
So you want to read those first. Now, second, there's a series called Legends, and it concerns the tale of the two twin brothers in the group from Chronicles. Now, what happened without giving too much there's minor spoilers. So if you guys haven't read any of those books and are looking for it, you may not want to listen to this part, but I'm going to be quick and brief and not too spoily. But that has a lot to do. That series has a lot to do as it progresses in the second and third book. It is set basically in the timeline of Ansalon right before the cataclysm. So it gives you an insight of Istar and how things kind of were there and what happened right before the god said, "You know what, King Priest, F off. We're gonna throw a giant crater
All right.
into your
Well,
planet."
Well, that seems like a good segue to go into the Cataclysm.
Yep, and that's what happens. So yeah, but yeah, Legends is if you want to learn more about the Cataclysm, that's an excellent trilogy. So the Cataclysm, as a last effort to avoid mass destruction, the gods sent 13 warnings, a series of signs meant to deter the king priest. Trees wept blood, fire raged unnaturally, and cyclones struck the gleaming temple of the king priest. Gods also warned a few chosen mortals, Lord Soth, reasoning that if any of them reached Istar and prevented the ritual, Lord Soth, the world might not be beyond redemption. But the messengers failed, Lord Soth. The king priest and his followers dismissed the warnings as a work of evil and continued on their path. As the hour of the king priest ritual to attain godhood arrived, the gods whisked away their most devout followers and unleashed punishment on all who remained. So basically, like the what is that called when all the followers are not nah. It begins with an R. What's that word? You're Catholic, Joaquin. Come on.
When all the followers of what? With an R?
Yeah, it begins with an R. When all the not the revelation. Oh, what is it
Oh, no,
called?
no, no, no. The Rapture.
Rapture. That's what it is. Yeah. So basically, that's what happened. The gods are like, "Oh, you guys are cool. You guys are cool. Fuck the rest of you. Here's your mountain." The mountain of fire fell from the sky, destroying Istar. The Blood Sea, a new ocean that split eastern Ansalon, consumed the empire. Coastlines shifted all over the world, sundering nations, drowning whole regions, and stranding ports miles from sea. Though some lands escaped the worst of the destruction, none were spared divine wrath. The gods and their blessings then faded from the world, and in time, even their names were all but forgotten. And that's a really cool thing. Like when you go into Dragons of Autumn Twilight, they kind of start explaining that because Dragons of Autumn Twilight start. I mean, the Dragon War. It's about 300 years after the Cataclysm. I think 350 somewhere around there. I'm a little shady on it,
Yeah.
but and they kind of explain, people don't have gods to worship. There are no clerics. The gods, basically said, "F off, world. We're out of here. You guys put your trust in a king priest that tried to become a god himself." And, so for hundreds of years, there's been no gods, there's been no clerics.
Oh,
So there
really?
are,
That's a
there's a
cool
lot of
world.
charlatan. What was that?
That's a cool world to be playing
It's
D&D in.
crazy. Like, and people don't value gold anymore. They value steel because that's, in a war torn, not even war torn, but just in a very harsh environment, that's what it takes to survive.
Yeah, like the
It's
first
basically the
Conan,
dark ages. Yeah.
first Conan movie. He always looking for was good steel.
Yeah. Yeah. Nobody cares about gold and gems and all that other shit. But yeah, so that's really a good start where it kind of explains, what happened with that. And the Blood Sea thing is cool because of, and it doesn't say anything. Really quick, one thing. So when the mountain fell in, it basically created almost like how the Gulf of Mexico was created by, they say, created by the meteor that killed
The
all the
dinosaurs.
dinosaurs. That's basically what the Blood Sea is. And at the center of the Blood Sea, like the color is red. That's why they call it the Blood Sea. There's this giant like whirlpool that sucks you down, and I won't say where it goes or anything because that's another series of books in the Dragonlance saga. But yeah, it like sucks you down to where basically that whirlpool is over where Istar once stood. So, and as you go through like the different books in Dragonlance, especially the first three, like there's oh, what's the name? The southern area, like it would be the equivalent of Antarctica. It used to be a port city before the cataclysm, but now 300 years later, the sea is miles away. So it shifted the continents on the global scale. So as the books go on, you see how it affected different areas of the land.
Well, the other thing I
Really cool.
noticed was the first thing, when they're talking about for the readers who are reading that the first thing they want to do is to try to get ahead of anybody who's read the past and knows all the lore, like people
Hmm.
like Eric.
Hmm.
And so they're like, whatever happened in the past, people don't really know anymore, so there's no use of even bringing it up. That's why the other reason why I wanted Eric to do this video was because when you was talking about reading the Cataclysm, you kept saying Lord Sloth, Lord Sloth,
Blood Soth, yeah.
because they don't even want to go into that.
Well,
It's
yeah, and I think because, and I'm not saying like, to be honest, I haven't read much of this module just in case I play it,
yeah,
but I know, well, obviously from the cover, I got the fancy alternate cover with Lord Soth on the front, and if you read Legends, you'll know why I said that. When I didn't give anything away, but you'll see what happens, like why the cataclysm actually happened. I
yeah.
really want to say why, but I won't spoil it. But
We could do another video on that just in case
yeah,
somebody.
oh, a
That way,
Lord Soth deep
when
dive, dude. That would be really
excuse me,
cool.
when somebody wants to learn about the Catechism, it's like, okay, you've been warned. Where in this
Yeah,
one, we're just dropping little tidbits so they can discover these little things for themselves.
yeah. Maybe make them a little curious, so they'll look into the books.
Yep. All right, so let's go up with the next
Oh, Dragons of
after
War.
the Catechism.
Oh, the late great Keith Parkinson in the Citadel.
Yeah, that's great art right there, people.
Yep, that's one of my favorite. Another iconic Dragonlance artwork. All right, after the Cataclysm ushered in a period of chaos. During the next 3 centuries, known as the Time of Darkness, cultures and ecologies were radically altered, causing famine, plague, and mass migrations. The Knights of Solamnia, the champions who might have kept Ansalon united, were distrusted as former allies of Istar and persecuted across the continent, even in Solamnia. Now, there's a part I didn't like. I'll forget little things. But
Yeah,
yeah, I forgot about that. Knights of Solamnia, as the chronicles start, are very distrusted. Like Sturm Brightblade, he wears that fancy Knight of Solamnia armor, and people are like, "Ew, get out of here! It's your fault that the cataclysm happened," kind of thing.
yeah,
So, because they were allies with Istar, they were universally shunned across Ansalon. The elven nations shut their borders. The dwarves of Thorbarden withdrew to their deep tunnels, refusing entrance to refugees from the surface. Many societies turned on one another or fell to disease and war. Nations of hobgoblins and ogres spread, capitalizing on humanity's decline and claiming whole regions. Much that survived the cataclysm was lost in darkness. At length, the worst effects of the disaster waned. Though many elves and mountain dwarves remained reclusive, other cultures tentatively rebuilt. Explorers ventured forth to map the drastically altered continent. Societies reestablished bonds of trade that united and diversified them. The civilizations of Krynn rebuilt, and so new societies arose. The world learned to live with the jarring truth: the gods were truly gone. Religion on Krynn was altered forever. True clerics, who once worked miracles on behalf of their gods, had vanished. While some people remained devout, many others turned to false religions in search of answers and comfort. Some of these new faiths were founded by charlatans, others by zealots. Some claimed the names of the gods, others dismissed them entirely. In this radically changed world, bereft of immortal insight, truth became subject to conjecture, even among Crane's most dedicated scholars. So yeah, after the cataclysm, it was really, like I said, the gods were gone. Like even the clerics, about clerics, like, hey, where's my? The gods are like, no, you had your chance, you didn't do nothing.
yep. Well,
So it
anything
was
else you want to
really,
add to that? Any other
not really,
little?
not without giving too. I don't want to give too much stuff away.
Okay, yeah, okay. So we are gonna do a after the Cataclysm video. That way, Eric can really go to town, and that way we're not
But yeah,
spoiling
there's
it.
many, many, many books on the kind on subject matter between the cataclysm and the beginning of the War of the Lance. I mean, that's 300 years. You have plenty of stuff in there.
Yeah, so we're gonna cherry pick stuff that Eric finds most interesting that he's passionate about, and we'll also leave other sources once we do that video. But yeah, you do want to be like myself, just start listening to the audiobook. Autumn, what is it?
You can get it
Oh,
from Audible or
Dragons of Autumn Twilight, and so that's the first book, and then keep going down the series. So
Mhm.
I'm recommending this person who's reading his name is I Am Paul, And I gotta say, he's done a good job so far, like changing up his voices and doing all this other stuff, and just submerging you into this atmosphere of like you're there. So, Eric, you should check that out. Hopefully, you'll enjoy it as much as I
Yeah, I have
am.
to see. I have to see who did the audio for mine because I was not pleased at all. Like I
Yeah,
said,
Eric was all
when you
pissed.
start mispronouncing names, I'm like, no.
Yeah, that's why I have Eric on here. Besides his funny lures, it's like that was my dyslexia and speech impediment. I have a very hard time. Eric would be losing his mind if he would watch this
Be like,
video.
who? Who are you talking about?
I mean, I'd be like, the Draconians? You mean the
Oh my god.
Draconians? Just say Draconians. The Dracoconians?
Oh my goodness. Stop.
Just stop. That would be me and Eric if you listen to it. All right, so next, the history of the Dragon Queen. The Dragon
Oh,
Queen's
this feels a bit like
return.
deja vu.
So they have a picture of her in the book on page 6. She looks pretty cool, man. I gotta say, I was like, dang.
You should see there is and I think it's a Clyde. Yes, Clyde Caldwell does artwork. It's with her and the character Raceland. And it's a pretty amazing photo, dude. It's a very popular photo.
Oh, really? Is it that racy?
Yeah, she's basically she's all but naked,
Yeah.
and Raceland, one of the characters, is in that photo too.
So it's like
Or
what?
in that, I'm sorry, not photo, but
Yeah, the painting. I was like, what? You have a little dragon flying across her nipples? Is that what we're talking about?
dude, not no like like if she's in like this little bikini thing. You got to remember the four guys from the four main artists for D&D. It was highly and overtly sexualized. You
Oh yeah,
because D&D was basically for teenage boys, adolescent boys.
yeah.
So you had, Larry Elmore, Keith Parkinson, although not Keith Parkinson didn't have too many of them. Clyde Caldwell and Larry Elmore were probably more of the more of the racier
Yeah, the
kind of
biggest
artwork.
perverts of
But
the
I mean,
group. In the
it
name
was
of
amazing
art.
nonetheless. What was that?
It's like the biggest perverts of the group. It's like, in the name of
Yeah.
art, I
Yeah, in
shall
the name of
show
art,
nipples.
right? Yeah, that's a very so yeah, if you look up Raceland and Takisa's art,
Yeah.
you'll know what I'm talking about.
Yeah,
Right.
if I were to do the Dragon Queen, like if I want to do a painting or a drawing, I'd probably pick somebody with like a smoldering look to them, someone like Selma Hayek. Um,
It's funny you say that because in that picture with Raceland, that's who it looks like.
oh really?
Yeah,
Wow. Look at
yeah,
me, man. Channeling
that's
another
funny.
great artist. All right, so take us away, the Dragon Queen's return.
All right, sneaky git. Even as Ansalon healed, a new threat grew. The Dragon Queen Takisis, known as Tiamat on other worlds, dun dun dun, was banished from Krynn over 1,000 years ago. Since then, she had waited patiently, plotting her return. Unbeknownst to the other gods, she planted a piece of the king priest's ruined temple at Naraka, hidden in the volcanic Tamanbusuk region. There it grew into a baleful shadow of Istar's greatest edifice. Though this allowed the Dragon Queen to influence the world through a portal opened here, a fragment of the temple's foundation stone was missing, Barum the Everman, preventing her from fully returning to the world. She called on the evil dragons who served her, long withdrawn from the world, and began once more to plot the conquest of Krynn. Chromatic dragons, acting on their god's orders, again, spoiler alert, so if you guys don't want to know any of this, stop listeing.
I don't want them to stop
Chromatic
listening. They'll go switch another video.
fast forward, yeah. You're like, hey man. Spoiler alert, that's all I'm gonna say.
Yeah, spoiler alert. All right.
Fast forward 10 seconds. Chromatic dragons, acting on their god's orders, stole the eggs of the good metallic dragons. The metallic dragons reluctantly pledged not to interfere in the coming war in exchange for the promised safety of their abducted
Wait
broods.
a minute. They didn't have to like wait pause for that. You're not adding anything to that. Anything that you're reading from the
Oh
book.
yeah, once you know what
Oh, I
happens.
don't. Oh,
Spoiler alert, Joaquin.
uh,
Don't be mad when you find out in the book.
Yeah, okay, well, fine, cool, but you're not spoiling anything that they're reading from this book. That's my
Yeah.
point.
Oh, yeah. I mean, if you read this book, you're gonna know everything that happens anyway,
You're gonna have
Draconians.
to, now because Eric is like really hamming it up, making it sound really juicy. Yeah, they're gonna go look
I
for
gotta
this
add drama,
material.
man.
Yeah,
Get some
man.
interest.
But real quick before you read the last two paragraphs,
Yeah.
so now we know what happened to Tiamat after first edition when somebody did 50 points to her body and she died. He came over here to Krynn.
That's where she been hiding.
Yep. So those of you who watch that
All right.
dragon video know what's up. Okay.
Oh, yeah. But the Dragon Queen's servants secretly broke their promises. Akisis taught her followers to corrupt the stolen eggs into monstrous warriors known as Draconians, gambling that Draconian armies will conquer Ansalon by the time the metallic dragons learned of this betrayal. That's fucked up, man.
Dude.
I remember when reading that in the book, I'm like, what? Unrivaled by gods or dragons, the Dragon Queen unleashes her forces upon a shattered world. In their god's name, these dragon armies began their quest of Krynn.
Oh. So any other fun facts you know about the Dragon Queen? Because she's gonna
Well,
get her own video, but let's just throw something out there.
yeah, Takesis is basically, Tiamat, Paladine is Bahamut. But yeah, so she has this temple at Naraka. She can't fully enter yet because a piece of it is missing. And as you go through the books and read the books, you'll find out, where that piece is and what happens. But often she takes her form to she often let's see if she
So
does.
this
I
is
don't think
Tiamat's
she's
avatar or whatever avatar. Is that what you're saying?
yeah,
Okay.
like this is Tiamat. She appears as the five-headed dragon. Yeah, like later, you'll I don't want to say too much, but yeah,
Yeah,
she appears, and I'm trying to think. I don't think she ever appears in her human form until Legends.
that's good to know.
Yeah. So, but yeah, because she's really not a big part of the book. She appears, at the very end as the war climaxes and everything. So it's not, she's not a big part of it. But yeah, you'll find out what happened to that missing piece of Naraka and what happens with that. But yeah, Akesis is one of the evil gods of Krynn.
Yeah, because
People worship her.
I thought they would at least give some stats for the avatar, and they don't. They just do lore slop.
No, because she really, in this point in the world, she doesn't really. And I don't. If I say it, it's going to kind of give away the ending. But she's not really an entity to fight.
Okay, all right. We'll leave it at that. All right. So now, because we are going to be doing a Dragon Queen
Well, yeah, and I mean, it
separate
even
video.
says a fragment of the temple's foundation stone was missing, preventing her from fully returning to the world. So that right there kind of says she's in that in between phase.
Yeah. All right. So we're wrapping up to the last part here. We got the dragon armies.
All right, so you want this whole dragon army section.
Yeah, except for the
This is
Dragonlance War of
this is
Krynn. You don't
where
have
it
to read that
really
part.
gets yeah, it really gets into the different oh, see, I love this. Okay, I'll just go straight in. The Dragon Queen's forces are organized into 5 dragon armies. Draconians fill the ranks of each, though the army's numbers also include humans, goblins, hobgoblins, ogres, and others who seek wealth and a return to pre-cataclysm glories. Each dragon army is supported by chromatic dragons and their smaller kin, such as dragonels and wyverns. These winged terrors provide a staggering advantage not seen on battlefields for over 1,000 years. The Dragon Queen has elevated her 5 most cunning and devout followers to the rank of Dragon High Lord, each commanding one of her armies. The High Lords all report to Takesis' champion, Dulket Ariakis. There is no shortage of treachery between and within the dragon armies. The Dragon Queen encourages these conflicts, trusting them to bring the most ruthless and capable leaders to the prominence. The Red Dragon Army, the first, largest, and most powerful of Takesis' forces, is commanded by the fanatical dragon High Lord Verminard. He has
Ooh.
temporarily given control of many of its troops to his acolyte, Dragon High Master Consaldi Fire Eyes, tasking her with spearheading a daring attack on Solamnia. I think that part right there is made specifically for this module because that was the first time I had heard of it.
Yeah.
There's no way in hell Verminard would head over his armies, but you know. Meanwhile, Verminard's force follows worshippers from the Dragon Queen into the southern lands of Abyssinia. That's where the chronicles take place. The ambitious High Lord Kitiara Uthmatar commands the Blue Dragon Army. Second in power among the Dragon Queen's forces, the Blue Dragon Army prepares to join the Red Dragon's army's multi-pronged invasion of Salamnia. The Green Dragon Army recently came under the command of Salah Khan, a Kur leader who united the region's nomads under Dragon Army rule. The half ogre Lucian of Takar commands the Black Dragon Army, whose focused force supports the other armies and occupies the lands they conquer, including Nordmar and Goodland. Oh, Nordmar. Finally, the small white dragon army is led by High Lord Fealthaz, a Sylvanesti elf and black robe member of the Mages of High Sorcery. That is interesting. I did not see that the first time I went through this book.
Oh, there you go. A little
That's
extra
something.
tidbits.
Yeah, Fealthaz is that's it. I don't not remember him being a dragon high lord. Something must have happened. Or no. That's interesting. But yeah, so Kitiara and Salah Khan I never heard of, and Lucian of Takar I don't recall either.
They might have been just um,
Yeah, they weren't really
prevalent.
focused. Yeah, Verminard and Kitiara were the two main ones. Like I said, Fealthaz was in there somewhere, but I don't. He had a very very minor part.
Okay, anything you want to add to that?
No, no. I know, like I said, I don't like giving too much away. I don't want to say who's who.
Okay,
But
so
yeah,
we are good at like on certain topics. This will be one of them. We'll do a separate video, the Dragon Armies, where Eric's going to go more into detail and talking, fleshing more things out, because I want this to like help out new players, even like myself,
yeah,
because I do want to run this adventure for Eric and our crew. So listening to Eric talk about all this history is going to help me enrich the
yeah.
module in the
Get
back.
people motivated. That's what I
Yeah,
want to do. That's why I don't want to give too much up. Like I said, the books are a huge motivator.
yeah. That's what I'm actually going through right now because we're currently going through Curse of Strahd,
Yeah,
and I'm having a really good time with that. This is really
yeah.
interesting
It's
because it's
good.
really dark, and you've got to learn to not use up all your resources because you never know when you're going to be able to
Hmm.
get a short rest or even a long
Yep.
rest in this game. All right, so now we're moving on. So let's pick. All right, there we go. So the wrap up next up, part two. So we're gonna be so the War of the Lance. Um, Eric's going to break down each section of the time. He's going to read it and then add on anything he wants to on that. And then that's going to be another video. And then we're going to be doing the life. And that's going to take us all the way up to the religions of the god. And when we get to the religions of the god, then we're going to break that up into a separate video. And we'll see what Eric knows about all these extra gods in
Oh
here.
yeah, I was reading through these guys. I'm like, oh, they remind me. They take me back. One of my most beloved, really like a side thing. One of my most beloved D&D characters, Kamash, took his name from one of the Dragonlance gods.
Yeah. So, and then we're gonna go into character creation, which is to give you just some extra fluff that when you're playing your character or you're trying to determine your backstory, Eric can help you out there. And
Yeah, this is
then
really cool. I was reading it. I do like it.
yeah,
I love the Kenders.
we're gonna stop and do a background, and that's all the bonus feat sections. And then we're gonna stop there because once we get to the preludes of war, that's the adventure.
Yeah, you don't want to get into the module.
No, we're not.
So
So
ruin the Kender.
And if I do, it will be like after we have played certain sections and stuff. Then I'll start doing
Mhm.
my little intro to D tips to help you. And
I'm
and
curious if they've converted those old Dragonlance modules to a 5e version. I have to check that out.
I don't think so, not yet.
I haven't. Yeah, I haven't
I don't
seen
think
any
they
of
have
that.
any plans. And really, so
Well, I think it has to do with rights.
well, yeah. So the what is it? The new OS, whatever it is, that's coming up.
Oh yeah, it's nuts, dude. I've been really reading that.
Well,
It's
it's not going to
that's a whole other
affect.
video, man.
it's not going to
It
affect the majority of people who produce. Like, say
it
you do an
will.
adventure or a supplement. No, it's only
Third
gonna
party creations?
it's really only gonna affect heavily if you're making $750,000 off of another person's IP. Then yes, you should be paying them royalties.
But it's not about paying, it's not allowing it outright.
Yeah, well, you are still using another person's IP, so you know.
Yeah, but I mean, how it's a whole GW thing, you know, how much of a copyright do you have on the term orc or elves?
Yeah,
I mean, they basically stole all this shit from Tolkien anyway.
yeah, pretty much. And
But
so
I guess that's a whole other
that's a whole other
that's a
video if we
very,
want to go
very
down
deep
that.
rabbit hole,
The
man.
other thing I'm gonna mention is that Eric really doesn't want to do videos about, sixth edition yet, because
Yeah, because 'cause I'm starting to read more about it. It's nuts,
yeah,
dude.
so
Like, they're
it'll
really pushing the virtual tabletop aspect of it,
yeah, so
having it be, subscriptions, paywalls, you know, all kind, and I'm just like, did you see the reports on what Wizards of the Coast said this week?
no.
Oh, man. I have to send you some links, man. I'm like,
All right,
it
we'll
basically
put a pin in
yeah.
that, and we'll do that definitely for next year for a separate video. So this is what we have. So as soon as we're done with this video, I'm gonna post it for tonight, and then the next video is gonna be our end of the year review.
Yeah.
But I gotta say, I'm more impressed with this. Like I thought this was gonna be a big disappointment,
I was
like
ready for it to be, dude.
the Starjammers was, and
Yeah, Spelljammer was
or
really kind of
Spelljammers, yeah.
wah, wah.
That was big time. And so I'm like, okay, this is cool, and I look at the map in the back and I'm like, wow, there is
Oh,
so
yeah.
much you can do with this.
Dude, I have a giant Abyssinian map, dude. Giant map of Ansalon.
Dang. Like
Yeah,
the
I
size of the
really
Greyhawk, the Darlene map.
no, not quite. Not quite that big. Not the Dharma or the what's it called?
Darlene.
Yeah, no, not Darlene. It's something else. I can't remember. Anyway, yeah, I still it's not quite that big, but yeah, it's a pretty big map.
Yeah, no, it's cool, man. So I was like, I was telling Eric at the, I was like, I don't know if you should get this, just gonna be mad. And I started looking through it. I was like, this ain't that bad. I'm gonna get his
Yeah, I
opinion
was
on this.
really
Let's do
like
some
I went
videos.
into it. I'm like, okay, I'm gonna see what it is. I'm gonna be mad. There's a couple points that they kind of changed
Yeah.
that I don't want to get into just yet.
No, because
It
we'll,
made me
we'll
kind of
catch him on
sad
different
because
topics when we start doing this,
yeah.
but this is another series. And we are ready to go next year for the Player's Handbook. So
Oh
get ready,
yeah.
people. Eric finally got a copy of the Player's Handbook,
Yep.
and strap in for that one. That's going to be long. All right, people. We will catch you next video. Last video of the year. You gotta watch that. Our end of the year 2022 celebration.
All right, guys, take it easy.